welcome to my channel, Drone in Nature. Nice to see you. My name is Aspen. Today I just want to talk a little bit about my experience with the GoPro Hero 10 so far. It's an excellent little camera. I'm really happy with it. It has some flaws, of course, but that's normal for GoPro. But I see a bunch of video out there and I must say I'm a little bit surprised by all the negative comments, but that's normal. Everybody want to make some kind of clickbait videos, so just have to come up with the video ideas just to keep it interesting. But my experience so far with the GoPro Hero 10 has been really good. Of course, there are some bugs, but the camera is really new and I know that GoPro gonna make some changes to that with firmware updates. But what I'm really happy about with this camera, especially the new GP2 processor. That's an excellent processor, quick and easy, no freezing, no lags. The video quality is excellent, especially when the lighting conditions are good, of course. But that's normal for a small compact camera like this. You can't expect excellent performance in low light. It's a small sensor. Of course, I was really hoping for a bigger sensor on the new GoPro Hero 10. Everybody wants something new, but I think the processor is the biggest change GoPro have made to this camera, and that makes it so much better to use and easier to use. And what I really love about this camera also is the 4K 120. Excellent, beautiful slow motion you can capture with it. And the 4K image looks really good. For stabilization, Hypersmooth is one of a kind. Maybe the best in the market, especially for electronic stabilization. Can it beat the gimbal? I'm not quite sure. The audio quality from the GoPro Hero 10 is really good. That's my experience. The noise cancelling works pretty good. One thing I'm maybe a little bit disappointed about is the low light the low light experience with this camera. It's not the best. It isn't. I'm shooting often after work, out running and doing some vlogging and trail running. And I'm not impressed by the low light about this camera. It's too noisy in my opinion. If you're gonna shoot in low light, I highly recommend shooting in 4K and not 5.3K. It seems to me that it's much more noise in the image when you're shooting in the highest resolutions. And I think that's because of the pixel count in the image, because the processor are working really hard just to get the best out of the camera. And I also recommend shooting in low sharpness. That looks much better, and it's much easier to add sharpness in post. It looks more natural and you can tweak it whatever you like. So don't use medium sharpness and not high sharpness. That looks just terrible. And I also recommend shooting in flat color profile. The profile isn't that flat and it's not so it's quite easy to grade it, but you don't have too much information in the flat color profile, but it's easier to adjust it than shooting in natural color profile. The natural color profile looks good, but I highly recommend shooting in flat color profile. And I also recommend you not go any further than ISO 800, maybe max 1600, and of course low ISO is set to 100. EV comp set that a little bit down, maybe minus 0.5 or minus 1. You can shoot in auto white balance. It seems to work pretty good, but of course in a bright nice day you can maybe set the ISO to 5500 or up to 6000 max. Yeah, this is just an all-round good camera. This is the best GoPro camera ever made, in my opinion. It's not the big update from the Hero 9. The biggest update is of course the new processor that are much better to use. But if you have the Hero 9, I'm not quite sure if there is any reason to upgrade. Of course, if your Hero 9 camera is just too buggy and too much freezing, then I of course recommend it. You can rely more on this camera than the Hero 9. It doesn't seem to be losing any files when it shuts down for whatever reason. I have noticed one flaw with this camera, and I really hope that GoPro is going to do some changes to that in the firmware update, and that is when your battery is under 40% maybe and you're shooting in higher resolutions and higher frame rate, it's sometimes shuts down, and that's a little bit frustrating, especially when you're out running and gunning, and because you still have a lot of battery left. I think that is because of the processor are needing a lot of power just to process the image and the frame rates and the resolutions. But I really hope that GoPro can fix that, because I don't see any reason for the camera to shut down when you're around 40%. That's stupid in my opinion. So I really hope they fix that, of course. And of course do some other updates to the camera. I really hope they do that, because we're soon gonna get the Dji Action 2, and that's gonna be a huge competition to this camera. So I really hope that GoPro have something good up their sleeve. I really hope so. Maybe they can surprise us a little bit with an update. You can't do anything about the camera body, of course, but maybe you can add some fun stuff to this camera, especially with the new processor. And I really hope that GoPro has think of something smart. But I think the most important, of course, for most users that are using action camera is a camera that are stable and you can trust it when you're out shooting. That's really important. The battery life isn't great at all. It's not good. It seems to me that the processor are in need of much battery power, and this is the same battery that you had on your Hero 9. So I don't understand why they haven't done any upgrades there. But maybe they can do some tweaking with the processor just to make sure that it saves batteries in some conditions. I really hope that, because I think that's really important. But should you upgrade? I don't know. It depends on if you want to spend the money. But of course, in a couple of days now, the Dji Action 2 is coming. So I'm not quite sure if I'm going to return this camera or not. I'm not going to buy both. And I think for me that the Action 2 will be the more right camera for me to use because of my type of shooting. I really love to run and hike, and it's important for me to have a small camera as possible. And I see with the Dji Action 2 you can get some kind of magnet so you can mount it on your chest, and that's really, really great. And it's small. It's maybe half the size of the GoPro Hero 10, especially the one module with the sensor and the screen on the back. I think it's in the screen on the back, I'm not quite sure. And of course you got some other stuff for the Dji Action 2, so we're just gonna wait and see. And I also think that the Dji Action 2 is gonna be much better in low light because it has a much larger sensor. But the 4K 120 is one of the reasons why I bought this camera. It looks really, really nice. So it's, in my opinion, this is an excellent camera, and I highly recommend it. I think it's a good action camera, maybe the best you can get now. I also have the DJI Osmo Action. I really, really like this camera. Excellent camera. I'm not gonna sell it. It's really, really good. So if I'm returning the Hero 10, I'm not gonna sell the Osmo Action, because this camera has been just excellent. Never had any experience of freezing. The battery life is much better on this camera. It's just an awesome camera. And I really like the flat color profile on the DJI Osmo Action. Of course, this is not a low light king at all. It's the same as the GoPro, but I think the flat color profile looks nicer. It seems to be more information, and of course the screen on the Osmo Action is just amazing. It's quick, it's easy, and it's easy to understand the camera. But finally GoPro have made the changes that we needed on the GoPro Hero 10. This is a really good action camera, and I can highly recommend it. So if you have the money, buy it. If you have the Hero 9, maybe you can wait for the Hero 10 or the Action 2. But if you want a more trustworthy camera, I recommend updating to the Hero 10 for sure. So yeah, but of course you're gonna need some kind of accessories to this camera, but that's pretty easy to get hold of and pretty cheap. I really hope that one day somebody out there can support my channel with some kind of accessories for action cameras. So PJ Whitetech or somebody else, if you're watching Freewell, maybe, why not send me something for review? I'm a small YouTube content creator, and I'm not I understand that, but I can't see any reason why smaller channels can't get some kind of support. So this is not a clickbait videos that many videos out there are. I don't see any reason to talk trash about this camera. It's really good. Of course there are some stuff that's normal. And of course I was also hoping for a bigger sensor on this camera, but maybe next year. We will see. So yeah, if I'm returning this camera and getting the Action 2, of course I'm gonna make a video explaining why, but so far so good. I'm happy with it. It's a good camera. It's good in all conditions. But it's going to be fun to see how it is to shoot with this camera if I still have it in the winter when the temperature drops. Yeah, I was really hoping, of course, for better low light performing on this camera, but you get what you pay for in some sense. Of course, that's because of the sensor. That's the way it is, but so far so good. I'm happy with it. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.